Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how I made this card. This is really a very simple little card, but I think pretty dramatic looking, and I've been messing with these dies, the detailed Edgelit dies in the catalog, and this is a design that I came up with that's really very simple. And what you need to make this card is a piece of Very Vanilla, and this piece is 8.5 by 5.5 scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then you need, I have a layering piece on here that is 4 by 5 1/4. Then I have a piece that is 5 1/4 by 1 inch, also in the Very Vanilla. And then I have 2 pieces of scrap, and actually you need 3 pieces of scrap to cut the 2 dies here. And then on the inside I put this die, and for this one I'm going to use this die. So that we'll get to see all of these different dies used different ways, and this one I thought was particularly pretty and so simple. So let's just get started here. To save a little time, I have cut my die pieces here. So I have 2 pieces to go on my card here, and then I have my piece. Oh, the other thing you need is a long strip of vellum, and this vellum is cut at 3/4 of an inch, and it needs to be at least about 6.5 inches, because what I'm doing to secure it, rather than putting any adhesive on this side, is I'm wrapping it around the ends and adhering it on the back. So let's just get started. Once your die cutting is done, this is so simple. It really is a very fast card. This could be one in my fast and beautiful category. And what I did was I cut this the length of the die, and let me just show you that the 2 dies I'm using. So these are the dies that I'm using, and I cut on my piece of paper here just like this. And this, I did use the new cutting technique where we are suggesting that you tape down with washi tape or post-it tape or whatever your die to your paper, and then run it through your Big Shot this way. Because you're pressing against the regular main platform, you don't need the intricate platform that we have. It cuts absolutely beautifully just using your standard base, your thin die adapter, and a couple of cutting plates, if you cut it so that the blades face up. And I found that to be the case on both of these dies, and you can see that these dies all have lots of little intricate pieces in it, and they literally come right out. In fact, as I peeled the thing off of the die, it left almost all of the pieces behind. Then I just cleaned up my die. So it really is very easy to work with. Okay, so what we're going to do on this piece is we are going to figure out where is the center of our card, and this card is cut at 4 inches, so it's 2 inches to the center. So if I set this up on my grid paper here, I can take a little pencil and I can put a little pencil mark on this side and follow that along here, and so that's 1, 2, so my pencil mark needs to go right here, and that marks the center of the card. And the only reason I need that is because I want to set these down, and this hasn't been cut. You could see that it's a little bit longer on one side than the other, so I'm just going to trim that down. And if I set that on this card base, at 2 inches, and then I set this piece on this end at 2 inches. You can see that that is going to absolutely cover the front of this card. Isn't that just pretty? It's just such a pretty die set. And all I'm going to do is grab my silicone mat here, and I am going to put some snail on the bottom piece of this die, and I use snail on the top of the other one, and I think I'm going to change my mind for this one and just use a little bit of Tombow. So there we go. I'm just going to stick a little bit of Tombow in this nice big piece that's available here, and then just dot a little bit more along this band, and I think that's going to be more than enough to hold down this die. All right, so there we go, and I'm going to place this right down on those 2-inch pencil marks there on my card and secure that into place. Maybe I'm going to have to get just a little bit of glue on that very topmost piece on these. And the beauty of using Tombow is, of course, because it dries clear, you can erase anything that's left in the end here. Let me just push that down. I just don't want those ends to pick up. And there we go. And then I can erase anything that is residual there. And then I'm just going to use my snips to trim off the pieces here along this card. And and it's easier to trim off one at a time than when you've got both of them on there. So this other piece, we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to put some snail along the bottom edge here, and I'm going to put some Tombow. It looks like I need to clean some of that glue off of there. Grab a little piece of painter's tape. I've showed this tip before in some of my videos, and just a little piece of blue painter's tape will take off any residual glue from your silicone mat and leave it absolutely pristine and ready to go again. So now what I'm going to do is use my Tombow in this center areas on this, and then we found that it looked like it wanted to pick up, so I'm just going to dab a little bit of glue on the tops of these little fans here, and then I'm going to stick this piece right down here, butted up against this other piece that I've already got on my card. And there we go. Hold down a few of those tips and make sure that they stick. And it looks like they're going to just fine. And then you can use your glue eraser to clean up any little ends. And then we're just going to trim this off again here. And on this side, so that we have a perfect fit for that die. All right, so there we go. Isn't that pretty? I just think these edgelets are gorgeous. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some stamping. Well, we're going to lay this piece down and get it adhered so that it's equidistant between the two pieces, and then we're going to do a little bit of stamping on our piece of vellum. So with this, I think I can just use snail, and I've got this set to fit down here, and I may have cut it just a little bit big because I want to make sure that I've got that perfect fit across here. So I'll lay that down, and I do think I have just a tiny bit of an edge. So now I've got my piece on there, and my plan is to put some stamping on this in black embossing powder, and then just turn those ends in and glue them to the back of the card. So what I did was I selected this pretty little sentiment from Heartland, just a note to let you know I'm thinking of you. I thought that was such a sweet sentiment. So I have that all mounted on my little block here, and I'm going to use my embossing buddy on my piece of vellum here, and I'm going to ink this up in Versamark. Let's see here. Pardon my head if I get it in the video, but I'm going to have to pull this quite close to me to see if I can't get this properly done. There we go. It's a little low on the piece of Versamark, but it is nice and straight, so I'm going to go with that. All right, now I have some black embossing powder here, and I'm going to I got a little edge on that paper. Let's see what happens when I stick this in and we get some embossing powder on it. Yep, just a little bit of an edge, and so I'm going to use a brush and get that to go away, and I think that looks pretty good. And so I'm going to quiet the video while I heat set this. Okay, there we go, and I do have a little mark on there, but I think it's on the back side. There was a piece on there that was on the back, and there was a little piece of powder on this side, and I'm just going to use my pokey tool here to scrape it away a little bit of the black powder. And I think that's going to work. Okay, so the hardest part seems to be stamping the sentiment. So what I'm going to do is lay this down here, and once I know I have it in the right place, I'm going to bend my vellum to the back side of the card. Then what I'm going to do is just turn this over and put a couple of strips of glue right along the edge of the card here, and glue those pieces of vellum down there. Now when I turn this over, if I've centered this right, and I have, then I have this all ready to go here. Now, because it's got the pieces on it, I really didn't feel like it needed to be raised any. So I am just going to set this on this piece with some more snail. This is one, because you're working in black powder, you want to make sure your hands are real clean so you don't transfer any of this stuff to your card base here, like I have been doing. And this one is a piece of glue. I can tell that, so I can make that go away. And everything else on here looks like it's coming off just fine. And there we go. except that I put the whole thing on upside down. You know, I'm not going to edit this out. Somebody told me the other day when I was making a video that when I made him, it was a little intimidating because it all looked so seamless. Well, I've got news for you. I make a ton of mistakes all of the time. And a lot of them, because I edit them out so that they don't kind of take up space on the video. But trust me, there's times I will make a prototype 4 or 5 or 6 times before I'm finally happy with it. It isn't seamless. There's plenty going on that cause me to do something over again. And what I try to do is, by the time I get it to the video, have it be something for you that is pretty easy if you follow the instructions, that will save you some time and headache, because I'd hate to have you go through what I've gone through. So my objective is to get it to the point that it's pretty easy for you to do by the time I get there. But the big revelation there is that it's always good to really take it good and slow when you're doing something like this, especially for the first time. Just take your time with it, and you'll generally be just fine. Okay, so I can see by looking at this that this little strip isn't straight. So I'm going to trim that down. And you can do this with your trimmer. Okay, so there's our piece. Now I'm going to bring back my silicone mat, and I'm going to just run a little bit of tape along here, and I'm going to just catch a few of these larger pieces here with the snail. Now you can certainly use your Tombow to get that down, but all I really wanted to do is tack down. So I'm going to set this down here with the overhang being roughly the same on both sides, and put my piece down, and it looks like it's good and secure there. And so all I'm going to do is trim off this edge here. This die has this beautiful little bit of stitching. I'll bring this up so you can see that a little bit better. That just is really pretty. But can you see that there? It's got just a little bit of stitching right along the edge closest to the die cuts themselves. So really, really a beautiful die. And I think that this makes just a gorgeous card. Now, the thing that I added to this when I did it was a few rhinestones, and I think I kept it to just 3 so that it would be, the eye likes odd numbers. And so I often will do things in 3s or 5s, and so I'm going to do this just like I did the other one, and put these little things on here right like that. There we go. All right, and so that's it. That's the card for today, using these beautiful dies, the delicate Edgelit dies. They're absolutely gorgeous. And thanks so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. The deals this month are, there's a prize draw from me that is a Stamparatus. And all you have to do to qualify for the drawing for the Stamparatus is place an order with me. We've got 4 days left in the month. And so any size order will get you in the drawing. And then there is a paper deal that goes through the end of the month. all of the $11 paper in the catalog is buy 3 get 1 free. So there's a lot of beautiful paper, and I featured some of it in my videos earlier, showing that those different papers. And so that is a deal that's live again just until the end of the month. So you've got 4 more days after today. And then the last thing that's going on is the 10 stamp pad bonus for joining. If you join in the month of July, so the rest of today and then 4 days, and you join Stampin' Up, you get the normal thing, which is $125 worth of product for $99, and for the time remaining in July, you also get a 10 ink pad family. So it could be the brights or the subtles, the regals, the neutrals, or the 10 in colors. So it would just, it's a phenomenal offer. And if you've ever thought about joining Stampin' Up, even if you want to just be a hobby demonstrator and get the discounts for yourself, you get discounts once you join, starting at 20% for all of your product. And there's no other requirements the only requirement is that you buy $300 or sell $300 worth of product per quarter. And that generally is not too challenging to meet. And right now, because the quarter's already started, the first full quarter is until the 4th quarter. So you have until December 31st to complete that first $300 minimum. So it's a wonderful time to join. If it interests you at all, my telephone number is always listed below. Either go to my website, and everything here can be ordered on my website, www.lbedinger.stampinup.net, and send me a note from there or give me a call. Be happy to talk with you about the details on it. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more cards and more projects. Thanks. Bye.